All right. So I'm pretty sure you guys have already been experiencing the weather fluctuation that's been going on right now. And maybe some of you are wondering what is the causes and how is it really affecting what is going on with that. And that brings me to my topic, which is human activities are one of the main reasons for climate change. And my first point is human activities cause greenhouse gases. So what are the greenhouse gases exactly? Well, after doing some studies and research that were done, they found that carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide are responsible and involved in greenhouse gases. And according to the National Association of Clean Air Agencies, they stated that greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, and methane have been implicated in global warming effects. So how are humans really involved? How do we really produce these gases? Well, carbon dioxide is produced from burning fossil fuels and oil, natural gas, and coal. And here in California, we rely a lot on burning fossil fuels and coal to produce energies and electricity. And that's why a lot of cities right now are trying to reduce their use of coal, and that's why they're moving over to solar panels and windmills and stuff like that, so they can lower their greenhouse gas inventories. Methane, that's produced by the production of fossil fuels, oil, coal, and gas. And nitrous oxide it comes from agriculture, soil, and fertilizers and things like that. So, how are human what do they have to do with the rising of temperature? Well, the way this works is all these gases will combine together, and once they do, they're released into the atmosphere, and once they do, they create like a blanket, and this blanket will absorb all the energy and radiation, and will reflect it back on Earth, and will just keep it trapped in there. So whenever it tries to escape back out, the molecules from these gases will just hold on to, and that's what keeps the Earth heated and warm. And that's how the process works. And to put it in perspective so you can understand how it really works is, if you leave your car outside in the parking lot in 100-degree weather for a couple of hours, and you go and you open the doors, you'll feel like this heat wave coming out. And the way this works is because you left your car outside, and it will absorb all the energy from the sun, and it will keep it inside your car, but it will never escape back out. So that's on a smaller scale if you want to look at it this way. And according to the National Center for Atmospheric Research in 2010, they stated that these gases trap the heat not by blocking its passage back into space, but by absorbing it before it can get away. As they radiate the heat energy they have collected, their neighboring greenhouse gases molecules absorb much of it once again. And finally, if this continues on going on, so exclusive greenhouse gas is environmentally dangerous. Why? Because we're going to have air pollution. We already experienced that. We already know that. And the polar ice is going to start to melt. And once the polar ice starts to melt, all the sea levels are going to start rising. And if the sea levels start rising, the coastal region, they're going to start moving back. They're going to start moving forwards. So obviously that's not a good thing. And also humans are responsible for producing cars and vehicles. So anything that operates on gas, diesel, I was talking about cars and motorcycles, boats, ships, airplanes, those produce carbon dioxide and methane. They produce these major gases that actually influence the climate change. And according to the National Center for Atmospheric Research, also in 2010, they stated that it's not greenhouse gases themselves that are bad, but rather having too much of them in the atmosphere. When excessive amount of greenhouse gases build up, the Earth's surface temperature increases more rapidly than it is sustainable. From NASA Space Place website lists some of the possible effects this can have is polar ice melting, sea level rising, and coastal region flooding. So basically from this research that if humans don't find an alternative way to substitute or to eliminate the use of these gases, we're going to experience more global warming and climate change, and perhaps it's going to be environmentally dangerous for us.
All right, Mina, the proposition's identified pretty clearly. There isn't really any preview of what the supporting structure is going to be. You go right into the first point. So the first point was pretty clear. The secondary and the other secondary claims, though, were not quite as clear, and sometimes it seems like you've got this narration and explanation process, but you're not doing much in the way of making an inference from any of those points, and I think that that's a little bit problematic. You explain the basic concepts of the greenhouse gases. The analogy to the car thing is perfectly fine. The problem is that you're suggesting that this is going to alter the climate in some way, and there's not any measurement of that. There's not any data that suggests that that's happening. If this is true, then these are what the consequences are going to be, but there's not much demonstration that it is in fact true. The NOAA evidence that you cite is very speculative about what the effects are going to be, instead of being definitive about saying that this is going on. We don't have any data that talks about changes in weather patterns. There's no doubt that the greenhouse gases that you cite are in fact greenhouse gases. The question is, are they substantial enough to produce the effect that you're describing? And that's the thing that I think is missing. That's the link in the argument that is underdeveloped. I thought you did a nice job speaking to the audience, and you generally present things well. Like I said, I like the analogy that you used and the way that you're relating ideas to the audience, but you need to make the argument a little bit more forcefully, and you need some evidence to support the notion that this is in fact something that's going to happen, and not just information that explains what the theory is. Thank you.